You won't believe what Bubba Wallace just admitted after Kansas Speedway, because while his teammate was celebrating in victory lane, Wallace was standing on the other side of that garage with a confession that has NASCAR fans talking everywhere. And what he said is going to change how you look at the rest of his 2026 season. But before we get into everything, if you love NASCAR drama, rivalries, and the biggest stories in racing, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are pushing hard to grow this community, and your support means everything. Now let's get into it because this story is bigger than it looks on the surface. Sunday at Kansas Speedway. The Advent Hell 400. Overtime finish. One of those races where everything comes down to the final laps, and the tension inside every car on that track becomes almost impossible to describe. And when the checkered flag dropped, Tyler Reddick was standing in victory lane, again.
His fifth Cup Series win of the 2026 season. 5 wins. The kind of number that makes the entire garage stop and take notice. The kind of number that puts a driver in a completely different conversation than everyone else on the grid. Michael Jordan was watching. The team owner, the NBA legend, the man who built 23SL Racing from nothing into one of the most competitive organizations in the sport right now, he was watching his driver Tyler Reddick put together the kind of season that franchise owners dream about. 5 wins. Dominant, consistent, the real deal. And right there in that same garage, driving that same team's equipment, racing under that same 23 August banner, was Bubba Wallace. Wallace finished 5th at Kansas. On any other weekend, 5th place is a solid result. Top 5. Points, momentum. A driver would walk away from that feeling good about where his season is heading. But when your teammate just won his 5th race of the year and you are sitting 8th in the standings, 5th place feels like something completely different. It feels like a mirror, and sometimes the hardest thing in racing is looking into that mirror and being honest about what you see. Wallace was honest. Brutally honest. Speaking after the race at Kansas Speedway, he said something that immediately got people's attention. He said he thought once they got past the bubble of 8th or 9th in the standings, they would really turn it up. And then he admitted the words that have now become the headline. He said he and his team are still missing something this season. Missing something. Think about what it takes for a professional NASCAR driver to stand in front of a microphone after a race and say those words out loud. These are competitors. These are people who have spent their entire lives being told they are good enough, fast enough, mentally tough enough to race at the highest level of the sport. Admitting that something is not there yet, that is not easy. That is not a comfortable thing to say. And the fact that Wallace said it anyway tells you something important about where his head is right now. Because here is the thing about Bubba Wallace that sometimes gets lost in the noise. This is a driver who came into 2026 with real expectations. The 23X organization has grown. The resources are there. The equipment is competitive. You only have to look at what Reddick is doing with it to know that the cars are capable of winning races. Wallace himself just made his 400th Cup Series start this past weekend. 400 starts. That is not a small number. That is a career. That is years of showing up, learning the tracks, understanding the strategy, building relationships in the garage. And after 400 starts, Wallace knows exactly what a winning setup feels like. He knows the difference between a car that is close and a car that is there. And right now, by his own admission, something is still not clicking the way it needs to click. That gap between Wallace and Reddick inside the same team is what makes this story so complicated. Because when two drivers are sharing an organization, same engineers, same manufacturer support, same ownership, same resources, and one of them is winning 5 races while the other is sitting 8th in the standings, the questions start coming fast. Is it the driver? Is it the setup? Is it communication between the driver and the crew? Is it something mental? Confidence, rhythm, that intangible thing that separates a driver who is in the zone from one who is searching for it. Nobody outside that garage knows the full answer, but Wallace does. And his willingness to stand there and say he is missing something suggests that he is not running away from those questions. He is sitting with them. He is trying to figure it out in real time, in public, under a spotlight that gets brighter every single week that Reddick adds another win to his total, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is watching. The sport is watching. Because when a driver of Wallace's experience and profile admits something is off, it immediately changes how fans and analysts look at the rest of his season. What looked like a solid year, 8th in standings, consistent finishes, some good days, suddenly gets reframed. Suddenly the conversation is not about what Wallace has done, it is about what he has not done yet. And in NASCAR, that shift in narrative can happen overnight. Short tracks did not help. Martinsville was a disaster. The incident with Carson Hocevar that sparked a multi-car wreck and landed Wallace deep in the field after the chaos, that kind of moment does not just cost you points, it costs you momentum. It costs you the clean air that a team needs to build confidence race by race. And when you are already searching for something, when you are already telling your team that something is missing, a race like Martinsville makes the search feel longer and harder than it already is. But here is where the story gets interesting, because Kansas Speedway was not Martinsville. 5th place at Kansas is not a bad day. It is not a disaster. It is a driver who is competitive, who is in the mix, who is doing what he needs to do to stay in the playoff picture. And the fact that Wallace came out of that race still willing to be honest, still willing to say the thing that most drivers would bury under spin and careful PR language, that honesty is not weakness. In NASCAR, in this garage, with this much pressure on him right now, that kind of honesty is actually rare. The question now is what comes next. Because the season is not over, the playoff bubble is real, and Wallace knows exactly where he stands. 8th in the standings, close enough to feel the pressure from below, close enough to see the leaders above him, and honest enough with himself to know that 5th place finishes are not going to separate him from the pack. He needs a win. Not eventually. Not someday. He needs one now. Or at least he needs the feeling that a win is coming. That feeling is the thing that changes everything in a driver's season. It changes how you attack corners. It changes how you communicate with your crew chief. It changes how you carry yourself when the green flag drops. Tyler Reddick has that feeling right now. He has had it 5 times this season. And Bubba Wallace, his teammate, his colleague, the man racing under the same Michael Jordan banner at 23X, is standing in the same garage watching it happen and being honest enough to say that he has not found it yet. That is the story coming out of Kansas Speedway. Not just that Reddick won again. Not just that Wallace finished 5th. The story is that one of the most recognizable drivers in NASCAR looked into that mirror after the race and told the truth. He is still missing something. He knows it. His team knows it. And now the entire NASCAR world knows it too. The next race will not answer all the questions, but it will add another chapter. Because for Bubba Wallace, the spotlight after Kansas is not going away. It is only getting brighter. And with Tyler Reddick rewriting what success looks like at 23X Racing, the pressure on Wallace to find that missing piece is real, it is growing, and it is not going anywhere until he goes out there and finds it on the track. After Kansas Speedway, the search is officially on.